Gang members sentenced to death represent some of the most violent and notorious figures within America's criminal justice system. These individuals often held high-ranking positions in powerful street and prison gangs, orchestrating brutal crimes including multiple homicides, narcotic trafficking, and targeted assassinations. Their actions not only brought devastation to communities, but also challenged law enforcement agencies with their ability to operate criminal enterprises behind bars. Sentencing gang members to death has been seen to dismantle leadership structures and deter future violence, though it remains controversial in legal and ethical debates. From organized drug lords to ruthless enforcers, these individuals exemplify the lethal consequences of unchecked gang influence. Their trials and appeals have drawn public attention, shedding light on both the severity of their crimes and the complex legal processes surrounding capital punishment. This introduction explores the grim legacy of gang-affiliated individuals who ultimately received the nation's harshest penalty. Number 7. Joseph Hernandez. Joseph Pinky. Hernandez was a high-ranking leader of the Nuestra Familia, NF, a powerful and violent Mexican-American prison gang that originated in California in the 1960s. As one of the gang's top generals, Hernandez played a central role in directing NF's criminal operations both inside and outside prison walls. His influence extended from California's Pelican Bay State Prison to the federal Supermax facility in Florence, Colorado, where he continued to exert control over the gang's activities. In the early 2000s, Hernandez, along with fellow NF leaders James Tibbs Morado, Gerald Cuete, Rubalcaba, Cornelio Tristan, and Tex Marin Hernandez, was indicted on federal racketeering charges as part of a sweeping investigation into the gang's criminal enterprise. The charges included conspiracy to commit murder, drug trafficking, and other violent crimes. In 2005, all 5 leaders pleaded guilty and were sentenced to life in federal prison. To facilitate their federal sentences, then-Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger commuted their state prison terms, with the stipulation that the state sentences would be reinstated if any of them were ever released from federal custody. Despite being incarcerated in the federal Supermax prison in Colorado, Hernandez managed to maintain communication with NF members on the outside. His wife, Carolyn Huerta, played a significant role in facilitating these communications. Between 2003 and 2007, Huerta engaged in drug trafficking with NF members, relayed orders from Hernandez to gang members, and received monetary benefits from the gang's drug proceeds. In 2013, Huerta pleaded guilty to conspiring to traffic methamphetamine as part of an ongoing investigation into NF's drug trafficking operations. The continued influence of Hernandez and other incarcerated NF leaders led to internal power struggles within the gang. In response, the gang's new leadership, based in California, revised its constitution to strip the former leaders of their authority within the state. However, these former generals, including Hernandez, retained influence within the federal prison system. Their continued involvement in gang activities from behind bars highlighted the challenges law enforcement faced in dismantling NF's leadership structure. Joseph Pinky Hernandez's life exemplifies the complexities of combating organized crime within the prison system. His ability to orchestrate criminal activities from high-security facilities underscores the resilience and adaptability of prison gangs like Nuestra Familia. Despite significant law enforcement efforts to dismantle NF's leadership, the gang's influence persists, both within correctional institutions and on the streets. Number 6. Peter Van Winkle. Pete Van Winkle, a member of the Aryan Brotherhood, is currently on death row in Arizona for the brutal homicide of fellow inmate Robert Leroy Cotton. This case underscores the violent dynamics within prison gangs and the challenges faced by correctional institutions in managing such threats. Records provide limited information about Van Winkle's early life. However, by his mid-20s, he was incarcerated in Maricopa County, Arizona, awaiting trial on charges including attempted second-degree slaying, aggravated assault, and weapons misconduct. During his time in custody, he became affiliated with the Aryan Brotherhood, a notorious white supremacist prison gang known for its involvement in organized crime and violent activities within the prison system. On May 1, 2008, Van Winkle murdered Robert Leroy Cotton, a 28-year-old inmate at the 4th Avenue Jail in Phoenix. Cotton had a history of psychiatric issues and was reportedly a former member of the Aryan Brotherhood who had renounced his affiliation and cooperated with law enforcement as an informant. Surveillance footage captured Van Winkle and 3 other inmates confronting Cotton in a recreation room, conducting what appeared to be a kangaroo court. Van Winkle then led Cotton to a cell where he brutally beat, choked, and knifed him over a 15-minute period, ultimately slaying him. After the attack, Van Winkle attempted to dispose of Cotton's body by throwing it off a walkway and then awaited detention by guards. In November 2009, a jury convicted Van Winkle of first-degree homicide for Cotton's death. The court sentenced him to death, and he was placed on Arizona's death row. The case highlighted significant lapses in jail security and inmate monitoring, leading to a $500,000 settlement paid by Maricopa County to Cotton's family. Aryan Brotherhood, established in 1964, is one of the most violent and influential prison gangs in the United States. With an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 members both inside and outside prisons, the gang engages in various criminal activities, including trafficking, extortion, and assassination for hire. Membership often requires committing acts of violence, and the gang maintains strict control over its members, enforcing loyalty through intimidation and retribution. Pete Van Winkle's case serves as a stark reminder of the dangers posed by prison gangs like the Aryan Brotherhood. His actions not only resulted in the loss of a life, but also exposed systemic issues within the correctional system regarding inmate safety and gang influence. Addressing these challenges requires ongoing efforts to monitor gang activities and implement effective measures to protect inmates and maintain order within correctional facilities. Number 5. Christopher Valva. Christopher Andre Valva was born on May 10, 1980 in Killeen, Texas. During his teenage years, he became associated with the 212 Piru Bloods, a local subset of the larger Bloods gang alliance. While some law enforcement officials described him as an ambitious and influential member of this gang, his defense attorneys later contended that he was not a full-fledged member, suggesting that such claims were used to prejudice the jury. On June 21, 1999, at the age of 19, Valva, along with 4 other youths, Brandon Bernard, Terry Terrell Brown, Christopher Michael Lewis, and Tony Sparks, devised a plan to rob and carjack unsuspecting individuals. They approached Todd and Stacy Bagley, 2 youth pastors from Iowa, at a gas station in Killeen, Texas, under the pretense of needing a ride. The Bagleys agreed to help, but once they were in the car, Valva held them at gunpoint and forced them into the trunk. Over the next several hours, the group used the Bagleys' ATM card to withdraw money and stole their jewelry. Eventually, they drove to the Belton Lake recreation area. There, Valva shot both Todd and Stacy in the head. Brandon Bernard then set the car on fire with the couple inside. Autopsy reports indicated that Todd died instantly from the gunshot, while Stacy's cause of death was contested. Some evidence suggested she may have died from smoke inhalation, indicating she was still alive when the car was set ablaze. Valva was convicted of carjacking, resulting in death, and sentenced to death in 2000. He spent the next 2 decades on federal death row. During his incarceration, Valva expressed remorse for his actions. In a video statement released shortly before his execution, he said, "I committed a grave wrong when I was a lost kid and took 2 precious lives from this world." On September 24, 2020, Christopher Valva was executed by lethal injection at the Federal Correctional Complex in Terre Haute, Indiana. He was the first black federal inmate to be executed since the federal government resumed executions in 2020. The case drew national attention, not only because of the heinous nature of the crime, but also due to debates over Valva's age at the time of the offense, his alleged gang affiliation, and claims of racial bias during his trial. His execution sparked discussions about the application of the federal death penalty, especially concerning young offenders and the influence of racial and gang-related stereotypes in the justice system. Number 4. Richard Tipton. Richard Tipton, also known by the alias Whitey, was a central figure in a violent drug trafficking organization that operated in Richmond, Virginia during the late 1980s and early 1990s. Alongside co-conspirators James H. Roan Jr. and Corey Johnson, Tipton orchestrated a series of brutal crimes aimed at consolidating control over the local crack cocaine market. Born in New York City, Tipton became involved in the drug trade during his youth. By 1989, he had partnered with Johnson in Trenton, New Jersey, to distribute cocaine. Their operation expanded to Richmond in 1990, where Roan joined them. The trio established a network of approximately 30 to 40 street-level dealers, distributing crack cocaine in the city's Newtown neighborhood. They sourced powdered cocaine from New York, converted it into crack, and managed the distribution through a structured hierarchy. Tipton and his partners retained 2/3 of the profits, with the remainder allocated to their dealers. To maintain dominance, the gang employed extreme violence. In early 1992, Tipton was implicated in multiple murders. On January 4th, he and Roan lured associate Douglas Talley to Richmond's South Side, where Tipton inflicted 84 stab wounds, resulting in Talley's death. 9 days later, Tipton shot rival dealer Douglas Moody, who attempted to flee, but was caught and fatally stabbed by Roan. Tipton was also involved in the February 1st murders of Dorothy Armstrong, Anthony Carter, and Bobby Long, who were targeted due to disputes over drug debts. In 1993, Tipton, Roan, and Johnson were tried in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia. Tipton faced 26 charges, including 6 counts of murder. The jury convicted him on 20 counts, leading to a sentence of death under the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988, which mandates capital punishment for murders committed in furtherance of a continuing criminal enterprise. Despite numerous appeals, Tipton's conviction and death sentence were upheld. However, on December 23, 2024, President Joe Biden commuted the death sentences of 37 federal inmates, including Tipton and Roan, to life imprisonment without parole. This decision was met with criticism from prosecutors and jurors involved in the original case, who argued that the severity of the crimes warranted the death penalty. Richard Tipton remains incarcerated, serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. His case stands as a stark example of the lethal consequences of drug-related violence and the complexity surrounding capital punishment in the United States. Number 3. James Morado. James Tibbs Morado emerged as a pivotal figure within Nuestra Familia, a prominent Mexican-American prison gang established in 1965 at California's Correctional Training Facility in Soledad. This organization, known for its influence both inside and outside prison walls, has been deeply involved in activities such as drug trafficking, extortion, and orchestrated homicides. Morado's ascent to leadership within this group underscores the complexities and challenges of combating organized crime within the correctional system. By the late 1990s, Morado had solidified his position as one of Nuestra Familia's top generals. Operating from Pelican Bay State Prison's Security Housing Unit, SHU, he, along with other high-ranking members, managed to direct the gang's operations despite stringent confinement measures. Their ability to communicate orders beyond prison walls highlighted significant vulnerabilities in prison security protocols. In response to the escalating threat posed by Nuestra Familia's leadership, federal authorities initiated Operation Black Widow, in the late 1990s. This extensive investigation aimed to dismantle the gang's command structure. In 2000 and 2001, the operation culminated in the indictment of 22 members on Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act RICO charges. Among those indicted were Morado and other top leaders who faced accusations ranging from orchestrating murders to overseeing drug trafficking operations. The gravity of these charges underscored the gang's pervasive influence and the challenges law enforcement faced in curbing its activities. Following his indictment, Morado pleaded guilty to federal racketeering conspiracy charges, which encompassed 2 murders and extensive drug trafficking activities. In 2005, he was sentenced to life in federal prison. To facilitate this federal sentencing, then-Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger commuted Morado's state prison sentence with the stipulation that it would be reinstated if he were ever released from federal custody. Post-sentencing, Morado was transferred to the United States Penitentiary, Florence ADX, in Colorado, a federal supermax prison designed to house inmates deemed the most dangerous. This move aimed to sever his communication lines and diminish his ability to influence gang activities from behind bars. On a personal note, Morado's life intersected tragically with that of Crystal Ann Morado, a 20-year-old Salinas resident. Though not legally married, Crystal adopted Morado's surname and was considered his wife. In 2004, she was found murdered in her car on Hecker Pass Highway. While the investigation into her death remains unresolved, authorities have speculated potential connections to gang-related activities, given her association with Morado. James Tibbs Morado's trajectory within Nuestra Familia exemplifies the challenges law enforcement faces in addressing organized crime that operates both within and beyond prison confines. His story serves as a testament to the enduring influence of prison gangs and the complexities involved in dismantling such entrenched criminal networks. Number 2. Timothy McGee. Timothy Joseph McGee, born on April 27, 1973, in Los Angeles, California, is a convicted serial killer and former leader of the Toonerville Reefa 13 gang. Raised in Atwater Village, a neighborhood in northeastern Los Angeles, McGee is of Scottish and Mexican descent. He joined the Toonerville gang at a young age and quickly rose through its ranks, becoming a prominent figure known for his violent tendencies. Between 1997 and 2001, McGee was implicated in at least 12 homicides and numerous attempted murders. His victims included rival gang members, witnesses, and even law enforcement officers. One notable incident was the 2000 murder of 16-year-old Ryan Gonzalez, a member of a rival gang whom McGee allegedly killed over a shared nickname. McGee's criminal activities extended beyond street violence. In 2005, while incarcerated, he orchestrated a prison riot, leading to additional charges and a sentence of 75 years to life. In 2003, McGee was apprehended in Bullhead City, Arizona, after a nationwide manhunt. He was convicted in 2007 of multiple murders and attempted murders and was sentenced to death in 2009. However, in April 2025, the California Supreme Court overturned McGee's murder convictions and death sentence, citing the improper dismissal of a juror during deliberations. Currently, McGee is incarcerated at Salinas Valley State Prison, serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. His case remains a stark example of gang-related violence and its impact on communities. Number 1. Samrith, Sampan, a life marked by violence and consequence. Samrith Sampan, a Cambodian immigrant, became a prominent figure in the 1990s as a member of the Tiny Rascal Gang, one of the largest and most violent Asian American street gangs in the United States. Born in the early 1970s, Pan's early life remains largely undocumented, but his involvement with TRG led to a series of violent crimes that culminated in multiple murder convictions and a death sentence. In the summer of 1995, Pan, alongside fellow TRG member Run Peter Chun, embarked on a crime spree across California and Washington state. Their actions included home invasions, robberies, and multiple homicides. Notably, on July 27, 1995, Pan and Chun invaded a home in Sacramento, California, resulting in the deaths of 73-year-old Hung Diu Le and his 48-year-old son, Ngiap Thich Le. The pair also attempted to murder Ngiap's wife, Quyen Lu, who survived a gunshot wound to the thigh. Another victim, 20-year-old Miguel Vargas Avina, was slayed in Pomona, California on August 8, 1995, after being mistaken for a rival gang member while preparing for a hunting trip. Pan's criminal activities extended beyond these incidents. He was implicated in the August 10, 1995, home invasion and murder of 5 members of a Vietnamese family in San Bernardino, California. Additionally, authorities suspected his involvement in the July 1995 execution-style killings of a Vietnamese couple in Spokane, Washington. These crimes were characterized by their brutality and the targeting of fellow Asian American community members, highlighting the internal violence within these communities during that period. In 2002, a Los Angeles Superior Court jury convicted Pan of multiple counts of first-degree murder and attempted murder. He was sentenced to death for his role in the Sacramento and Pomona homicides. His co-defendant, Chun, received a death sentence for 9 slayings committed across Sacramento County, San Bernardino County, and Los Angeles County. Pan's case has undergone various appeals and legal reviews over the years. In recent developments, his legal team has filed supplemental briefs arguing that his Sixth Amendment rights were violated during the trial, specifically concerning his counsel's concession of guilt against his wishes. These appeals highlight ongoing debates about defendants' rights and the complexities of capital punishment cases. Currently, Samrath Sam Pan remains on death row in California. His life story serves as a grim reminder of the devastating impact of gang violence and the challenges faced by immigrant communities in the United States. The trajectory of his life, from a Cambodian refugee to a convicted slayer, underscores the importance of addressing the root causes of gang involvement and providing support systems for at-risk youth.